Warning! The following program contains graphics and images that some people may find disturbing and traumatizing. Some of the violent content may be too intense for some viewers. Viewer discretion is strongly advised. NuMediaTV.
Fair Use Act Disclaimer. Fair Use Copyright Disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act 1976. Allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as nonprofit, criticism, news reporting, comment, teaching, education, and research. Fair use is a use permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing.
Content disclaimer. The views and opinions expressed in this media or comments on this channel are those of the speakers or authors, and do not necessarily reflect or represent the views and opinions held by this channel's broadcasters. Due to the social nature of this broadcasting channel, videos and audios may contain content copyrighted by another entity or person. This channel's owner claims no copyright to said content. The broadcaster of this channel cannot be held accountable to the copyrighted content. The broadcaster of this channel is a messenger and sharer of information and strives to verify the accuracy of such information, but cannot warrant the accuracy of copyrights or completeness of the information on this channel.
On this social media network, we aim to address Nigeria's socio-cultural and political problems in areas of national identity, conflict, poverty, endemic corruption, inequality, nepotism, terrorism, agitation, high level of child mortality, unemployment, poor health and education, collapsed in infrastructure, cultism, ritual killings, herdsmen crisis, tribalism and home violence.
As a precaution, this channel would also like to state unequivocally that we have all rights to use in all of our media broadcasts over 700 royalty-free tunes. These entire package was purchased and delivered by email. Tuesday, January 12, 2021 at 17:17 hours in London from soundsbest.com and a paid subscription and program from Movavi Video Editor.
NuMediaTV. Beyond the headlines. News in its purest form. Live stream with confidence. Contact us on +44 208 180 0433. Voice over Internet Protocol. WhatsApp +44 7467 634 822. The live stream will start soon. Please like, subscribe, share and to follow us on Facebook, YouTube and Twitter.
honest truth to me is simple. That we can accuse each other, we can point fingers. The question is, who is actually better off? I'm a northerner, I'm from Kano State. And I have been accused by colleagues and brothers in a very civil political discussion of dominating the polity, dominating the economy, and dominating the security. So I asked the question, if I dominate the polity, I have the president, yes. I have the executive council and appointees that are constitutional, just like every other state. But what is my economic situation? And what is my security situation today? So the question is it working for me if I dominate somebody? It's not. The question is, look at all the indices of development. The North today is actually worse off. Security, education, prosperity, development, I don't know, what have you. The North is not very well positioned. In fact, other parts of the country that have been pushed off in opposition space have managed to organize themselves into a survival mode and come up with a credible economic and development model. So I will say to you that, look, I think this country needs to be reviewed, and I think need to be fairly and equitably structured. I've always advocated for what I call development federalism. Development federalism, in my view, is a consensus by the 6 regions and Abuja to create a development template over time and devolve power gradually to the regions and to the states. The truth of the matter is, we all need to go back to our states. If all the states are working, the federation will be working, because development is not in isolation. Everywhere you go is either a local government or the state. So if you devolve power to the local government and to the states, and then create an economic investment template in the form of development federalism, which basically bring the potential of South-South to be an oil and gas hub in Africa, we will stop importing petroleum products. We will stop importing things that we should be exporting, and we will become net exporters of that product. The Southeast, we all know, are very ingenious people with technology, manufacturing, and trading. Please, let us invest heavily. Let us leverage on our resources and raise the capital to invest heavily in manufacturing, so that we don't import things from India. We don't import things from China. We import and we produce these things we need for agriculture and for our transportation and other industrial machinery. In the East, it's doable. I've been to Newi, I've been to the industrial hub of Aba. I have seen what the East can do. We will be proud to say, made in Aba, produced in Aba, made in Nigeria. And we will all be proud citizens. And the economy of the East will be a net contributor to the center. The same thing with the Southwest. Southwest dominantly is a manufacturing and marine economy. Singapore is exactly like that. And therefore, if we develop the marine economy, the ports, and the manufacturing base of the Southwest, we will be net exporters of goods and services and service providers in marine. And therefore, the Southwest economy will become net contributor. If you take the 3 regions of the North, Central, East, and West, and you take the 3 countries of Cambodia, Thailand, and Vietnam, our economy is almost the same thing. So, and these countries are booming individually. If you invest today in these regions in agriculture, agro-processing, and organized market with the standards for exports, standards for feeding Africa, we're even lucky that the African Continental Free Trade Agreement is in effect. We have the whole of African market to ourselves and the world. We will be one of the richest regional zones in Nigeria. Therefore, the North will now become net contributor to the center. And Abuja can maintain our sovereignty, can maintain our identity, can maintain our defense, can maintain our currency, and we raise the flag. Now I am saying honestly, the structure of this country is not working. I don't want to be accused even when I am suffering. I want my people to wake up and rise up and feel proud, just like every other Nigerian will feel proud when that sense of ownership is created. We should review. After all, the amalgamation has expired and it's been reviewed by the National Assembly. So the question is, what is the process? Now there are 3 different dynamics going on. The first one is National Assembly has set up a very, very credible committee reviewing Constitution. The question is can they change Nigeria to a point where they can change them? Such that the structure can say, we don't want two bodies in the National Assembly. Can they do it? We want to save cost and have only one unicameral body. Can they do it? So can they meet the aspiration of this change? It's waking up, wow, to create a platform for this position. And the third one is the one we don't want, is eruption, is anarchy. And that is important. And when you mention that DSS is talking about anarchy, I get very worried because we're almost there already. That citizens are advocating for change in an undemocratic way is not where we want to be. So the government of today should actually honestly review its position, and the National Assembly, as I said, with the political parties, both PDP and APC as major parties and other parties, to sit down and say, how do we do this peacefully? We all love each other. We all are Nigerians. We all respect each other. At individual level, we all have friends across the whole country. And honestly, everybody wants to have a giant, functional, proud country called Nigeria in Africa. Not only Nigerians, the whole block are looking up to us. We are better off together, but we need to have a functional structure.
Yes, good evening everyone. Good evening ladies and gentlemen. I sincerely hope I meet you all well. Yesterday is Thursday, the 31st day, the last day of the month of August 2023. Yes, it is. The last day of the 8th month of the year 2024. Thank God, you and I, we are still counted as amongst those that are still living. Welcome to NuMediaTV. I'm your host, the terrible Frank Bello. Yeah, I'll be taking you through few of the most incredible podcasts of all time. It is the only platform that we say it as it is. That is, we speak truth to powers that be. I salute you and I welcome each and every one of you to today's show. Yes, if you are joining us for the first time, don't forget to like, follow us on Facebook, on Twitter, subscribe to the page, and at the same time share the stream. This particular podcast is not for the faint-hearted, but because we speak truth to the powers that be, many are not interested in those platforms that will nourish their mind, will prepare their mind for things that will happen tomorrow. I continue to say it, as it is written in the Bible, that my people perish for lack of knowledge. Many of the people in the black race, they are perishing for lack of knowledge. The advent, that is the emergence of the social media, is not making things better, because on the social media people will prefer to be on the page where one woman will come up and boast to each and every one of you that, oh, I screwed this man, I screwed that man, I screwed that one, I screwed that one, I killed that one, I killed that one. People will always watch in this day and age on social media the alfas and the imams and the pastors that continue to kill, to use human head for sacrifices. People, the black race, are not thinking like I always say. You are not fast thinker, and that's why I said to you that the white people, they've carried out a SWOT analysis on the black race: strength, weakness, opportunities, and threats. And everything that is happening to the black race today, anywhere in the nooks and crannies of Africa, is as a result of the SWOT analysis that's been carried out from slavery to industrialization to colonization, and now to the present state that we are. But thank God, the spiritual source of all creation, the omnipotent, the omniscience, the greatest architect, the greatest designer, the all in all in the world, knows everything from the beginning to the end. He knows. Whilst he said, you, the black race, you will continue to perish for your lack of knowledge. Your lack of knowledge is exactly the SWOT analysis, the strength, weakness, opportunities, and threats that the white race are using against you to fight one another. It has always been like that yesteryears. It is currently as we speak. I pray it will not be so tomorrow, because the generation of those black African children now are far more sophisticated than our own father's generation, my generation, because they will not tolerate any nonsense. Let's go through exactly what I've got for you. Before I do that, let me say hello to each and every one of you. Please share the stream. Alaji Oshuolade Alakufo Baba Ibadan, good evening. Sunday Adebanjo, good evening. Rashid Atolagbe Aro, good evening from Chicago, USA. Anibolaji, good evening. Steve Osagie, long time, good evening. Bimbo Atolagbe, good evening. I hope you're having a good time where you are. Alaja Folake Alawiye, good evening to you as well. Others will join us. Yes, we are streaming. I'm back on YouTube as well. And what we want to discuss about today is hashtag the black race, hashtag African politics, and then hashtag NWO, the New World Order. A lot is happening all around the world, but let me quickly take you through the items I have for you. Top on the list, coup in Gabon. I'll take those one by one. It is not new. Coup in Gabon. It seems like Francophone Africa, the French territory Africa, are in trouble. Could there be any stability in Francophone Africa? That's going to take us through into Francophone and Anglophone Africa. The stability within the African region. Anglophone Africa is the British colonial territory in Africa. Don't forget, all these territories emanated from the Berlin Conference of the Scramble for Africa. And number 3 on the third agenda is the role of China, Russia in Africa in the New World Order, NWO. Then we're going to explore a little bit more based on item number 1, coup in Gabon. Could the New World Order be a secret agenda for coup d'etats in the next colonization agenda for Africa? So that brings into question democracy versus military junta. I've outlined that, and I'm going to explain them to you one by one. If we have to talk about coup d'etats in Africa as the next colonization agenda for African democracy by the West, what country is next in line for coup d'etat? I guess the next country is Nigeria's next door neighbor. And if that be the case, if that gets close to Nigeria's next door neighbor, I'm only analyzing. Are we going to see a situation whereby Nigeria will equally pay the price for a military takeover? It's going to be tough. Isabella, good evening. Then number 6. We're still going to hold on to Nigeria on the 6th item, 6th agenda. And I want to explore in details the position of MC Oluomo and his role as Agbero in the Nigerian politics. I was discussing this earlier with someone. Based on some of the events that happened within the last couple of days and hours, is this the end of the road for MC Oluomo as well? We're going to go there, and I'm going to open up your eyes. On the 7th agenda, I am not shy to have to go into the issue of China and Russia in Africa. China and Russia in Africa is equally in relations to resource control. We're going to go there. And again, China and Russia in the new scramble for Africa is part of the NWO world game, the new world order game card. China, as far as I'm concerned, is questionable. I still don't believe, as an Akure Manu, me, Omwekun, as a proper Ogbologbo conservative Akure man and a Yoruba man, I've got my reservations for China, and I still don't believe all the moves China is making in Africa. Russia is distinguished. Dwindle. I know exactly the role Russia played in Nigeria in the 70s. But China, listen, I'm going to talk about that. I don't don't know if we can go into the other topics such as the problems in Nigeria. I want to touch on the issue of tourism in Nigeria that I have been advocating for a long time, but there were conditions that were attached to that. I don't know if I can touch that. Then Islam versus other religious sectors in Nigeria. Let me quickly make that announcement because I'm not going to go into that. I am actually discussing with two Islamic clerics. I'm not going to mention their name. I'm going to bring them as a surprise onto the show. I don't want to mention their names. And we want to talk about all the nyokmonyonis that is currently bedeviling the Yoruba land. Now, these two Islamic clerics, one of them I know too well as a personal friend. They've all agreed to come on the show, the two of them. One is in London, the other one is in Nigeria. They should have been three. The third person refused to pick my call. The video clip I played for you as an intro, questions were raised in that video clip. The question of restructuring Nigeria, devolution of powers, development, federalism, and then the structure of Nigeria not working as emphasized by the gentleman. Isa Bello is asking me some tough, difficult questions. Isa Bello, you ask, Nigeria is a great country, and according to you, you believe in one Nigeria. I respect your views, and I equally respect your opinion. I don't know how old you are, Isabello. Fortunately, you and I share the same surname, but definitely I'm not too sure if we are of the same blood lineage. It's good to believe in one Nigeria. I once did just like you, and there was no one that loved Nigeria the way I loved Nigeria. It was even apparent to General Ibrahim Badamasi Babangida IBB and many of the top government functionaries. It was a dream I held close to my heart, but they killed that same dream of one Nigeria that I strongly so much believed in. Perhaps if time permits, I'm going to tell you more on that. So that actually answered your question on, sir, did you believe in one united or divided, sir? with the rate things are currently going between the Yoruba agitation and those horrible people within the Yoruba nation. For me, I'll tell you the gospel truth. We should keep one Nigeria, but they should return Nigeria back to the old regional formation of Western region, Midwest, Eastern region, and Northern region. And let each of the region control their resources and everything. Let them bring their taxes to the center of government. That was why I played you that tape. Let me play you that tape again. Maybe we will start our journey from there. Let me play you that tape once again. She completed cycles of 60 years in location 9, Nigeria, 1959 to 2019, 60 years. Listen to it. Nigeria will know no peace until the son of nobody can become somebody without knowing anybody. Old formation, Northern region, Western region, Eastern region. Nigeria is sick on intensive care. Right, being 4 regions because they carved out Midwest out of Western region.
And the honest truth to me is simple, that we can accuse each other, we can point fingers. The question is, who is actually better off? I'm a northerner, I'm from Kano State, and I have been accused by colleagues and brothers in a very civil political discussion of dominating the polity, dominating the economy, and dominating the security. So I ask the question, if I dominate the polity, I have the...
Listen very carefully.
I have the executive council and appointees that are constitutional, just like every other state. But what is my economic situation?
Correct.
And what is my security situation today?
Correct.
So the question is it working for me if I dominate somebody?
Is Nigeria working for you?
The question is, look at all the indices of development. The North today is actually worse off. Security, education, prosperity, development, I don't know, what have you. The North is not very well positioned. In fact, other parts of the country that have been pushed off in opposition space have managed to organize themselves into a survival.
Did you hear that?
And come up with a credible economic and development model.
Did you hear that?
I will say to you that, look, I think this country needs to be reviewed, and I think need to be fairly and equitably structured. I've always advocated for what I call development federalism. Development federalism, in my view, is a consensus by the 6 regions and Abuja to create a development template over time and devolve power gradually to the regions and to the states.
Development template.
The truth of the matter is, we all need to go back to our states. If all the states are working, the federation will be working, because development is not in isolation. Everywhere you go is either a local government or the state. So if you devolve power to the local government and to the states, and then create an economic investment template in the form of development federalism, which basically bring the potential of South-South to be an oil and gas hub in Africa, we will stop importing petroleum products.
Correct.
We will stop importing things that we should be exporting. and we will become net exporters of that product. The Southeast, we all know, are very ingenious people with technology, manufacturing, and trading. Please, let us invest heavily. Let us leverage on our resources and raise the capital to invest heavily in manufacturing, so that we don't import things from India. We don't import things from China. We import and we produce these things we need for agriculture and for our transportation and other industrial machinery. In the East, it's doable. I've been to Newi, I've been to the industrial hub of Aba. I have seen what the East can do. We will be proud to say, made in Aba, produced in Aba, made in Nigeria. And we will all be proud citizens. And the economy of the East will be a net contributor to the center. The same thing with the Southwest. Southwest dominantly is a manufacturing and marine economy. Singapore is exactly like that. And therefore, if we develop the marine economy, the ports, and the manufacturing base of the Southwest, we will be net exporters of goods and services and service providers in marine. And therefore, the Southwest economy will become net contributor. If you take the three regions of the North, Central, East, and West, and you take the three countries of Cambodia, Thailand, and Vietnam, our economy is almost the same thing. So, and these countries are booming individually. If you invest today in these regions, in agriculture, agro-processing, and organized market, with the standards for exports, standards for feeding Africa, we're even lucky that the African Continental Free Trade Agreement is in effect. We have the whole of African market to ourselves and the world. We will be one of the richest regional zones in Nigeria. Therefore, the North will now become net contributor to the center. And Abuja can maintain our sovereignty, can maintain our identity, can maintain our defense, can maintain our currency, and will raise the flag. Now I am saying honestly, the structure of this country is not working. I don't want to be accused even when I am suffering. I want my people to wake up and rise up and feel proud, just like every other Nigerian will feel proud when that sense of ownership is created. We should review. After all, the amalgamation has expired.
Yeah.
The Constitution is being reviewed by the National Assembly. So the question is, what is the process? Now there are three different dynamics going on. The first one is National Assembly has set up a very, very credible committee reviewing Constitution. The question is, can they change Nigeria to a point where they can change them? So that the structure can say,
I am going to pause that there, because I had already played that earlier. We're going to make reference to that same particular video time after time. Omolara Omibeku Orowale Steve Osage Sabitu Abdullahi, I welcome you onto the stream. If you're joining us for the first time, or if you're regular, please don't forget to share the stream. That gentleman was talking about developmental template. He was talking about devolution of powers. Umashu. According to that saying, in my proud Yoruba heritage, I'm a blue-blooded Yoruba man, conservative Yoruba man to the core, that will defend vigorously and robustly anything Yoruba. You see, the question of restructuring Nigeria and devolution of powers for the benefit of those of you who don't know. Let me take you back memory lane. I was glad. Abiodun Kayode, you're welcome to the stream. Let me take you back memory lane. If there is any one individual I have never in my entire whole life have any regrets of having to meet him, to question him one-on-one. I repeat, to question that individual one-on-one. That person was Ibrahim Badamasi Babangida, IBB. I have been torn apart. Mud has been thrown on me that Babangida paid me off and the rest of it. If Babangida paid me off, or if I got a dime from Babangida, perhaps, let me tell you, I'll be mightier and much more mightier than all your Bolekaja journalists in Nigeria, such as Dele Momodu. I'm mentioning his name. Tell Dele Momodu to come out for me and let us face ourselves one-on-one. I was the first to describe Dele Momodu as a Bolekaja journalist. And to me, up to today, he's still a Bolekaja journalist because opportunist Dele Momodu. I have no regrets whatsoever in my life. People describe me as an IBB man. Compliments. But you never knew the level and the length I quizzed and I questioned IBB for 3 months. 3 whole months. I was resident in Minna, in Niger State, because I wanted more. You see, the question of developmental template and the question of restructuring Nigeria, let me break it down. I've written it down over 15 years ago, that Babangida has been shouting 20 years ago that Nigeria is not working the way we are doing it. Babangida was the first person to outline the problem that was wrong with Nigeria, talking about that same devolution of powers and the need. Listen, it is record, print is record for life, and that each and every state in Nigeria should be a country of its own. I wasn't prepared for this, otherwise I should have showed you pictures. Babangida's tape and all my investigations on June 12. I've still got them on tapes. Restructure. Babangida saw this 20 years ago. That the center of politics in Nigeria is too powerful and there's a need to break the center of politics. Devolution of powers to the states and to the local governments. Babangida made me realize at the time that it is now up to each and every individual member of the states to question their governors and their local government chairmen, that if Lagos State is working or Ondo State is working and Lagos State is not working, or if Lagos State is working and Ondo State is not working, it is the responsibility of the citizens of the state to question their governor. Why is Ondo State producing electricity 24/7 and Lagos State does not have electricity, and vice versa? In the devolution of powers, according to Ibrahim Babangida's manifesto in 2007, each local government should control their roads. Each state should take absolute control of their road, their lands, and their resources. In a situation whereby there has to be an interstate, maybe between Lagos State and Ogun State, the two states should work hand in hand in developing a road network that will enhance commerce and industry. So, if Lagos mainland, for instance, is doing very well and Lagos Island is not doing well, you have the rights to now question your local government chairman. IBB made me realize that politics is played at the grassroots level and not at the center. And then each local government in each and every state should submit their own taxes to their state government. The state government should then coordinate themselves and then bring their taxes to the center of government for maintenance. You want to be a senator or member of House of Reps, you are only coming to serve your people and not to make money, like your Damboroba, Shegemutubu Banzani's politicians, such as Dino Melaye, and those that acquired wealth through politics illegally. I'm not scared of any of those shithole politicians. They're all shithole, assholes. Because you know what? They've destroyed more than 3 generations of children in that God-forsaken, hopeless, ridiculous Nigeria. Truth hurts. So when people start talking about restructuring, I just looked at them. And guess what? Who fucked up the restructuring program and everything laid down by IBB's programs and agenda? Obasanjo. Obasanjo never wanted any developmental projects. Did you hear that? I am saying this, and I want anybody that thinks he's in a position of power and authority to now come and challenge me on the structure of the rapport interviews I had with IBB. And that's why sometimes when I come hard on those ridiculous previous past heads of government in the God-forsaken, hopeless, ridiculous Nigeria, unfortunately, Ibrahim Babangida will have to face my sting as well, because I will pack all of them together in one go. But if I'm asked very politely which of them served Nigeria to his best ability and who build infrastructures in the country, it is not Gowon, it is not Obasanjo. I personally will single-handedly pick IBB as the man. Obasanjo fucked up every plans. Perhaps I don't want to go into all those arrangements and the plans at the time before Obasanjo messed up everything in 1999 when, as a matter of fact, IBB brought him back that, Oga, you were the brain behind 1993 annulment. You have to come sort it out. The most beneficiary of the MKO Abiola June annulment was Obasanjo. Obasanjo never liked Yoruba people. He never believed in the Yoruba ideology, never believed in the Yoruba dreams. There's nothing anybody can tell me. I want anybody to please quote me, and I want them to bring me facts, figures out, and let us take up ourselves on a TV debates. And I will give them instances. You see, the country that you thought is far more complex than what many of you are looking at. Probably the most complex of all countries in the world. Let me give you one instance. In 1979, Nigeria shouldn't have practiced a presidential system of government. Did you get that? For a formation such as Nigeria, presidential system of government was not the right form of government for a country such as Nigeria. Now, when you look at all the British Anglophone countries in Africa and elsewhere in the world, the legacy the British government left behind, to which they gave us pre-independence, was a parliamentary system of government. And when you look at all the British colonies that are still existing today, India, New Zealand, Australia, South Africa, Zimbabwe, up to Ghana, Gambia, they have not discarded the parliamentary system of government. Where did you get presidential system of government? Why are those other countries such as India, South Africa, Zimbabwe are all doing okay democratically? They are doing better because they have not changed the structures of parliamentary system of government, the regions that the British institution carved out for them. Ghana, they've not got states, they've got regions. Who encouraged Olusegun Obasanjo to go for a presidential system of government in 1979? Jimmy Carter. I'm going to take your comment, Steve Osage. 1979, Obasanjo was dancing to the tune and he was romancing the United States because Jimmy Carter encouraged him to jettison the parliamentary system of government and then introduce the American system of democracy into Nigeria. Obasanjo was military junta. Jimmy Carter was the president of the United States at the time. Look, history were unfolding in my korokoro eyes at the time, and I was reading everything in the papers. I read all the papers, the Sketch, the Tribune, the Punch, Daily Times, New Nigeria, all the papers. Jimmy Carter, before he became president of the United States, was a mechanized farmer. Jimmy Carter sold the idea of mechanized farming to Obasanjo when he was a military junta between 1976 to 1979. Hence, Obasanjo introduced into the Nigerian system the Operation Feed the Nation, OFN. Obasanjo used the program of Operation Feed the Nation, OFN, to seize lands through the Land Decree Act he created. That's why I said, ẹṣin tíwájú onítẹ̀yìn wò sáré. Seized lands. Operation Feed Nigeria, OFN, when Obasanjo transferred power to a Fulani man in 1979 called Alhaji Shehu Shagari, Operation Feed Nigeria, OFN, then turned into Obasanjo Farms Nigeria, OFN. Obasanjo settled himself because his friend at the time, Jimmy Carter, who was president of the United States, advised him. And don't forget, between those period, Obasanjo waged an economic war against Margaret Thatcher and the UK economy. The UK, they did like this and they were watching. They said, leave them. We will teach them a lesson. Let them hand over power to a civilian government, and we will use their politicians and we will bring down their economy, and the moment we bring down their economy will suffer and Nigeria will never rise up. Britain played a clean card game amongst all their colony, because Britain, unlike France, gave all their colony greater autonomy in as much as they are behind closed doors, still calling the shots. I'm going to play you a tape, and that tape, let me see if I can get it. I tagged that tape the Nigerian trajectory. Let me see if I can get it. Nigerian trajectory. I know I have it somewhere. Let me see if I can get it. Yeah, I think it is still under where I kept it before. Let me go to, I know where it is, so just give me 1 minute. MP4 exports. No, not here. Not here. Let me come back here. MP4 exports. Yeah, Nigerian trajectory. Yeah, I think it is this one actually. Okay, it is this one. So let me just cut it and let me bring it onto the live stream video. Okay, and let me bring it right in for you. I want you to have a look at this. It is very interesting. Watch this video.
Nigerian Trajectory Part 1. The story behind this title, The Nigerian Trajectory, is rather longish, but very interesting. We will try to serialize the contents. This is the first part that details the Nigerian trajectory. We are certain you will find it entertaining and very interesting too. This literary piece is by Dharmala Awoyakan, an engineer, writer, and historian. This excerpt is from his forthcoming trilogy on Nigerian history from 1700 to 1970, 270 years ago. You will be shocked at this new revelation concerning Nnamdi Azikiwe. For some reason you want to put up a claim, we will urge you to think twice, as this information contains real events and dates of the Nigerian trajectory. This is NuMediaTV in London, broadcasting on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. Your host is Frank Bello. Betty Emery was Nnamdi Azikiwe's private secretary. She arrived at the Nigerian High Commission in London from the suite of the President of Nigeria, Burford Bridge Hotel, Box Hill in Dorking, Surrey, where Azikiwe was recuperating and enjoying life on public finance. She brought a letter stamped, top secret, that Azikiwe wanted transmitted to Lagos. His usual hotel phones and cablegram facilities were avoiding Lagos, and so he sent Betty Emery to the Nigerian High Commission in London. But the High Commission too was having problems connecting to Lagos, so in the company of Mr. Dosumu, the acting High Commissioner at the time, and Brigadier Babafemi Ogundeep, his military attaché to London, Betty Emery proceeded to the Commonwealth Relations Office, CRO, in Downing Street to connect with the British High Commission in Lagos. The British Prime Minister at the time, Harold Wilson, who left Nigeria 3 days before the revolution, had given Arthur Bottomley, who then was Commonwealth Relations Office Secretary of State, up to 8 p.m. to submit a report of what happened in Nigeria, how they were caught unawares, and what could be done to locate their friend and ally Sir Abubakar Tafawa Balewa. FBC had already forwarded a long preliminary report of what they knew so far and who was currently steering Nigeria's affairs. The DI-4A, Defense Intelligence under the Ministry of Defense, and Colonel Hunt, their military advisor, had been tasked to find how an operation of such scale eluded British spies. Nigeria had been extra vetted for security in order that the Queen's cousin, Prince William of Gloucester, could serve at the High Commission there. Nigeria held Britain's fourth largest diplomatic outpost in the world. However, Sir John Chadwick at the time was an Assistant Under-Secretary at the Commonwealth Relations Office, CRO, was the first to notice to whom Azikiwe's letter was addressed. He gently corrected Emery and Azikiwe's ignorance, saying that when next they wanted to send a letter to the person running the country, they should address it as Anar Dakarima, care of the Council of Ministers, and not to Major General Ironsi. However, Azikiwe knew something Downing Street and the British establishment did not know. If you have enjoyed this video so far, crafted in London, unleashed to the world by Frank Bello, don't forget to like us, rate us, subscribe to our channels, share it, and hit the notification bell. Your engagement is the best reward for us. NuMediaTV. Beyond the headlines, news in its purest form. Let's get going. Azikiwe's letter to Major General Ironsi read: Dear Major General Ironsi, the news is now widespread about the unfortunate events that have occurred in the last 2 days in our dear country. I am very much perturbed to learn that all lines of communication between Nigeria and the outside world have been temporarily disconnected, so I am obliged to use the good services of a friendly medium, because I understand that you are now actively engaged in restoring order in the capital and other parts of the country. Since this is a Herculean task that must be undertaken by all of us who are interested in the peace and stability of our Federal Republic, I now inform you of my desire to return home immediately in order to be in a position to discharge any duty, constitutional or otherwise, in which my services may be required. As you appear to be the only means of communication with my government, I hope that you will be kind enough to give me your considered advice, at your earliest convenience, through the bearer of this letter. Sincerely yours, signed, Nnamdi Azikiwe, President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. However, the letter was striking more for what it did not contain. The Prime Minister and Finance Minister and some top officers were missing. Chief SL Akintola and Sardaruna had been confirmed dead. Azikiwe offered no word about how the abducted would be found or commiseration with the family of the deceased in the bloody revolution. He only asked Ironsi to cue him into any decision, constitutional or otherwise, and expressed his wish to come home immediately. The CRO diplomats advised him not to go. He would later arrive in Nigeria on the 12th of February 1966, 2 days before Ifejuna, and proceeded straight to Nsukka after the takeover of his State House mansion by Major General Ironsi on the 26th of January 1966. However, at a dinner party held for Sir Kerr Bovell, the outgoing Inspector General of Police in 1962, Abubakar told Bovell sitting next to him, "When there is trouble you can always tell it because Zik will not be there. He will be in England, or America, or somewhere. He always thinks he is going to be assassinated, but he won't be." He then told Azikiwe seated on the other side, "Your Excellency, I am Muslim, and if it is the will of God for me to be shot, I'll be shot." Abubakar was so much like Shaihu Umar, the hero of his eponymous novella. The NCNC connections. Orizu had been using all excuses to deny the ministers their request to swear Dicharima in. First, he told the ministers that he would not be able to oblige their request, because the absence of NCNC ministers implied their lack of consent. When eventually some NCNC ministers were produced, Orizu buried himself in a side room and was trying to call Azikiwe on a phone line that was either dead or not working. Ironsi then turned up in the sitting room with his menace-looking armed bodyguards. He requested to have a word with Orizu in his side room, and for 40 minutes the ministers were patiently waiting for them. The presence of the soldiers terrified them. Was it not their colleagues that had wrecked lives and wreaked havoc on the nation? Don't forget to like us, rate us, subscribe to our channels. Hit the notification bell to get notified anytime we publish a new video or Frank Bello live streaming. Your engagement is the best reward for our podcast. Let's get going. The fear of being next to be killed or abducted loomed large over them. Ironsi emerged and left without saying a word to the ministers. Afterward, the Senate President emerged to tell them he would not be able to oblige their request. There was a new development. Without going into details, he dismissed the ministers and said they should await further instructions. The ministers were shocked. It was fishy that for 6 hours, Orizu dragged his feet, but the secret meeting with the general officer commanding GOC portended something very, very ominous. The truth here was that Dr. Nwafor Orizu, being a crook, should never have held any political office had Nigeria been a proper country. In 1946, 77 years ago, Orizu presided over a new form of heartless fraud in eastern Nigeria. Families and whole villages in the eastern region of Nigeria sold their possessions to send a single student from their village to university because, like Obafemi Awolowo in the western region, they were passionate for the benefit of good education. Orizu, a PhD holder, formed an agency called the American Council on African Education, ACAE, to find these village students admission into American universities. In doing so, Orizu collected the maintenance funds from their parents and other sponsors and diverted them partly or totally to other personal and business schemes of his at the time. Now, you can clearly see that fraud in Nigeria has been ongoing for almost 8 decades with no solution to address or contain the situation. In 1947, 2 prominent African Americans, Alan Locke and George Shululia, resigned over Orizu's conduct of affairs in Nigeria. Horace Mann Bond, the African-American president of Lincoln University in Pennsylvania who provided Orizu's agency with many tuition-free scholarships, complained regularly and bitterly about Orizu's failure to financially support the students whom Orizu had placed in his school. The 32-year-old Orizu at the time was found out and on the 2nd of February 1953, 70 years ago, was arrested. Azikiwe, Bonu Ojike, and Kola Balogun went to bail him out. On the 9th of February of the same year, his brother Joseph Onyekusi Orizu was arrested in Gusau and taken to Port Harcourt. On the 12th of February, both brothers were charged in a statement that read that between the 1st of May, 1946 and the 31st of December, 1951, at Port Harcourt, in the Port Harcourt Magisterial District, conspired together with other persons unknown to defraud such person as might be induced to deposit money with you as officers and agents of a body known as the American Council on African Education Incorporated, and you thereby committed an offense punishable under the Criminal Code. When their lawyer told the court that Orizu was an honorable man, a PhD holder, a royal prince in the East, a member of the regional legislature, and also Azikiwe nominee for Minister of Local Government, Magistrate Dixon retorted, "This court is not a department under the government and it is not subject to any political party." Orizu was later jailed for 7 years. On Tuesday the 22nd of September 1953, Orizu arrived at Lagos prison by train under escort to serve his term. At the House of Commons debate of the 29th of April 1953 in London at the time, James Johnson, the MP for Kingston upon Hull West, criticised Oliver Littleton, the Secretary of Colonies, for taking so long to arrest the Orizu brothers. Is it not somewhat disgraceful that it has taken so long to investigate this case of defrauding parents and students, hence allowing him to cause untold hardship to his own people? This was Nigeria then, and it is the same story today. This is the first part of a series of video clips on the trajectory of Nigeria. In the second part that will follow very shortly, Frank Bello and the New Media team will bring to light the so-called father of Nigerian nationalism and founder of NCNC Connections. Please like, share, subscribe, and follow us on Facebook, YouTube and Twitter. NuMediaTV. Beyond the headlines. News in its purest form.
Now you can clearly see the same problem yesteryears, over 7 decades ago, is still hovering on the nation. That is why I beg to agree with a lot of you that the British, unlike the Francophone, the French colonies, are not your problems. The British, I will continue to maintain my stand, because I tell you what, in Western Nigeria, in Akure, Ondo State, my own father, Zacchaeus Andrew Bello, ZDB, of great memory, was the child of a no man, no woman, when Nigeria was under the British colonial rule. His academic excellence, performance, made him stand out. And the British establishment at the time that were ruling Nigeria took charge of his education. And the same British institution made sure they trained him and then developed the UK. And when that time came that they thought, oh, ZDB, you have to go back to Nigeria now and take up your position, take up a position as the chief town planning officer at the PWD office, he was taken back. They knew him, they trained him from primary school to Government College Ibadan and then onto Imperial College, London. When he graduated with the best honors, to which some of his contemporary at the time, they always say, ah, ZDB, Okpolo, Iwe, brain. He was comfortable in England working for Sir William Halcross at the time. Sir William Halcross at the time. In today's construction industry in the UK is like Sir Robert McAlpine or Overarop. When that time came, the same British establishment took him back and he became the first black man to hold the post of the chief town planning officer for Nigeria. When he got to his position, the British never intervened, or no, all they wanted was development. The whole of Surulere, New Lagos, was developed by ZAB at the PWD office. Years the British used in developing a forest in Lagos, in mainland Surulere, because at the time the British establishment, when Nigeria was under the British colony, they wanted to decongest Lagos Island, and there was a program on how the decongestion should happen. They built New Lagos before they started moving families out of Lagos Island into New Lagos. So if you think I am stupid or I don't know what I am talking about, I saw all this unfolding in my korokoro eyes. And I hate to be corrected, because it does not take any government to develop a nation. Look at United Arab Emirates, Dubai, how long it took them. They turned a desert into a paradise in less than 30 years. Obasanjo built a new Festac village. Festac village was equally a forest. He built it under 1 year. And you think I am stupid? I ain't stupid. If I fight anybody who is in a position of authority, or I feel they're not doing the right thing, I am in a better position to talk, because 1980, my father called me to one side as we were traveling from Lagos to Akure, and we branched out to have a meal on our way. He said, if get out of this country and go back to where you belong, because this is not the way to run a country. This country is going to collapse. How many? The question I want to ask the Nigerian authority today is, just like the British discovered Ọmọ Ìyá Fákẹ́wà tí wọ́n mọ̀ rí tọ́kàn rí pé through his academic record at St. David's Primary School in Akure, who are academically gifted, wọ́n dey take up responsibility yẹn pé eléyìí kò gbọ́dọ̀ waste. Could they waste? How many of such children do you think are already existing in Nigeria that the Nigerian government and institutions are not watching out for them to take care of them? They call them special gifted child or special gifted children. Àwọn ọmọ tí wọ́n gbé nǹkan tí ó le ju àwọn òbí wọn tó ń gbé wá láti ọ̀run wá sí ilé ayé, pé kí ilé ayé kó bá lè dẹrùn, kó bá lè dá. Because the purpose of this world that you and I live is all about building it. And the purpose of procreation that God ordained man and woman, and not LGBTQ plus, as they are now claiming to want to propagate to depopulate the whole world, is all about procreation. Produce the next generation that will build this kingdom. I have my problems with the Western world too. Don't think I don't have my problems. I have my problems with them. You see now? Did you see that? Nnamdi Azikiwe, but as it was yesterday, the fraud that's been on since that period, it is still on today. That's why I said, you people, you better mind yourselves. Don't you ever challenge anything I have to say. I have never been challenged, even by the power brokers in Nigeria or elsewhere, because before I open my mouth or slam you with evidence, the evidence I'm going to slam you with is just a tiny fraction. The Yorubas will say "enori resi." Nigerian trajectory. How many of you knew that there was so much fraud perpetrated by Nnamdi Azikiwe? Who was the man that masterminded the fact that Queen Elizabeth should be deposed as head of state up until 1963? The Queen was the head of state in Nigeria. To depose the Queen being the head of state because of all the fraud and political instability they want to cause in Nigeria. Nnamdi Azikiwe masterminded it. That's why, for me, as a full blue-blooded Yoruba man, I will never go with the East. And I don't want the East to even come. I will accommodate, I will do everything, I will work with them. Just like that man that I played his tape said, in the East, they are good with technology. Yes, if we have to remain like that as Nigerians, yes, I don't mind. Because that was the way exactly what British intended, and they've molded Nigeria to be. In fact, if you don't know, let me make it known to you, let me break it to you. Nigeria was the only British colony that the British never allowed any white settlers, because the British wanted just one black nation to be just blacks all over the world. The British, they had intentions for all of their colonies all over the whole world. Lagos, Nigeria, if you don't know, because I've read and I've made my research as a publishing student, as a journalist, up to that stage. Lagos was meant to be the financial center of Africa, just like London is the financial center of the world. Lagos, everything within Africa has to come through Lagos in terms of Ukwaje trade. It will first come through Lagos, and then from Lagos it will come straight to London, and then from London it goes to the rest of the world. And that was why Obafemi Awolowo, when he was premier of the Western region, the way the British molded Nigeria, and they molded all their colonies across the whole world. Western region was the only region in Nigeria that was prosperous. Who destroyed the structure? Gowon. Gowon destroyed and dismantled Western region, Midwest, Eastern region, and Northern region. and replaced them with 12 states. Gowon was a puppet. He stole, because Gowon initiated the idea when he was a military junta at the time of $1 on each barrel of crude oil produced in Nigeria every day, and all the preceding heads of state that came after him, they've all enjoyed it. $1 on each barrel of crude oil produced in Nigeria. Let them come out and then say, I'm blaspheming or I'm not saying the truth. That's why there is corruption everywhere. Nigeria has been battling corruption for more than 70 years. I know they don't like me, but there's nothing they can do to me. There is nothing anybody can do to me, whether you like it or not. All of us, we will all die one day. We will all die one day. I streamed a show. I don't know if it is here. I don't think I actually put it. Let me see if I have it here. Let me see. Okay, it is not. Let me go back. No, I think it should be here actually. What name did I use in saving it? Let me check this. Hang on, guys. Just give me 1 minute. I need to actually. I should have done this, and I think I had a copy of it. My sister-in-law, a 54-year-old woman, died of cancer and was buried this Tuesday gone. And at the cemetery, I actually did some recording. That recording is exactly what I'm trying to, because I made a proper video of it that if I can find it. And sometimes you don't know Yeah, I don't know that just a minute, guys. Okay, let me come back here and see. I probably will have it somewhere here. Just 1 minute. Okay, I seem to be having trouble with that, but in the absence of that, I want you to let me just bring this one in for you. I want you to listen to Minister Louis Farrakhan. I'll bring in Minister Louis Farrakhan. Yeah, let me bring in this one for you. Watch this one. Listen to that.
None of you can deny that what I'm saying is the truth. You know it's the truth. But either you won't write it, or you're too cowardly to speak it, because you want some favor here or favor there. So because you can't talk, you are muzzled. I'm not. I'm a free black man. And I didn't come here looking for a handout. And I really don't think you need one. Your problem is that you think you need a handout. Everything you need is right under your foot, but you're looking everywhere else for help instead of to yourself and what you can produce for yourself. This is Africa's dilemma. You are parading yourself before the world as international beggars when you gave civilization to the world. Your problem is not America. Your problem is not Israel. Your problem is not Britain. Your problem is your disunity and your dependence on others to do for you what you could do for yourself. So I don't have to come back here anymore to help you. The help is already here. The knowledge is already here. The land is here. The sun is here. The water is here. The minerals are here. You have some of the finest minds in the world, but they're in Europe and they're in America making money while Africa suffers. Why don't we create politically stable environment and call the children of Africa back home to help build Africa? We are your children, and we will come and help. But don't expect us to come with billions of dollars when we don't have it. We're struggling in America, but you got it all right here under your foot. And you should be ashamed not to look to yourself, begging white folk to give you what you could give yourself. What I said today, which one of these countries is going to give you $20 million? America's not going to give you $20 million. You got it right here, but your disunity won't allow you to pool it. It's your fault. And you got to accept that responsibility. That is why my message is atonement, reconciliation, and responsibility. We got to stop blaming everything on somebody else and see what is our responsibility.
You see, I've been preaching all this a long time. Everything we need is under our feet in Africa. What is wrong with the black race? You see, I'm pretty sure that the new generation of black children coming up will be far more ruthless than my own generation. Because the likes of those politicians and rogues who parade themselves as politicians all over Africa, things is going to change. And I'm afraid. I was listening to an interview earlier on today to which Rufai Hussaini of Arise was questioning the former African ambassador to the United Nations about the Zimbabwe election and the re-election of Mnangagwa. I laughed as I was watching the interview that when all those problems in Zimbabwe emerged, perhaps if Rufai Hussaini is going to watch this at some point in time, he was probably a baby when Robert Mugabe decided he was going to reclaim land back from the white people in Zimbabwe. There are many things that a lot of journalists, and because listen, I like the way the woman tackled Rufai. Rufai probably did not know that Robert Mugabe rebelled against the white folks because the white folks imposed a white gay minister on him to appoint. And the white gay minister was abusing boys in Uganda. And when that got into, that was then. I got the gist as at that time because Nasiru was our information attaché at the Nigeria High Commission between the years 1997 to 2000. And Nigeria was robustly behind Zimbabwe at the time. So it was Nasiru who was our information attaché at the time that actually broke down the problems of Zimbabwe to me. I was lucky I was always in the right place at the right time. And I just don't make a judgmental error. The problem that emanated in Zimbabwe between the years 1997 to 2000 was all about the fact that Robert Mugabe sacked a white gay minister that was imposed on him by the West, molesting young black boys in Zimbabwe. Very, very ridiculous. You can never hear this. This is the first time I am saying it, and I'm pretty sure that those that are old enough in Zimbabwe, because I'm very close to Zimbabwe as well, I used to befriend. One of them used to be my girlfriend until she passed away. And I am far even more respected within their community for who I am than in my own community. I was glad because Rufai Oseni probably was a baby, still in diapers, and does not know, but Rufai Oseni probably based his own analysis on what he has read so far. And I loved the way the former African Union ambassador to the United States tackled Rufai Oseni regarding the elections in Zimbabwe. Perhaps Rufai Oseni doesn't even know that the former opposition leader in Zimbabwe that died came to England to negotiate with Westminster that Westminster should get rid of Robert Mugabe at the time. Those top government officials at Westminster looked at the consequences of getting rid of Robert Mugabe and then asked him that what if Zimbabwe should be plunged into a civil war? Has he got a plan B? The plan B was not available. So that was why I made that statement earlier that perhaps Rufai Oseni was still in his diapers. Because there are some things, information that were unwritten, but you have to go through the back door to get them. There are so many information about Nigeria regarding past heads of state, things that happened and shaped up Nigeria the way Nigeria is today, that were not even documented, that I got through the back door, through verbal communications, the mode of communications that we're used to in black African countries, because we pass on verbal communications from generation to generation. Unfortunately, guys, I have thought that Omolara Omibeku Urowale, you're home. Jennifer Adesanya, good evening. You're home. There are many things going on behind the closed doors that many people don't know. I'm telling you the truth. That's why when I see certain information today, I will look I tend to look more. I'm even digging a bit more into the spirit realm right now than into the cosmos. What is happening outside the planet that we called Earth, and how India, everybody, they are racing to the space, to the space, to the orbit, to the moon, to Mars, to everywhere, to see if there is life over there. That's why I spend my time very, very profitably. I don't want to listen to any jargon stuff. If I see anything that is not worthy for me to listen to, I don't want to waste my time. I want something that will stimulate my brain and get me cracking. Two hours exactly we've been streaming continuously. Let's go to Russia, China in Africa, and the New World Order game. I'm taking it from the bottom. China. I still don't believe in China. The Chinese are crafty people. Listen, Russia perhaps has got good intention. Yeah. And Russia has got a big role to play in this new world order. I know there's been a lot of negative news about Vladimir Putin and the death of the Wagner boss and the rest of it. I don't want to go into all those nonsense, because for me, I still describe Nigeria as a mini Russia. If I'm asked to choose between China and Russia in Africa, you want me to tell you the gospel truth? Russia is my preferred choice. Why Russia? Because in the 70s, the Russians will fly in their Tupolev aircraft to Nigeria, and they want to take Nigerians out to be educated in Russia. And I know many Nigerians who took that opportunity in the 70s. And the Russians trained them as engineers. At least my father was in civil engineering at the Mainland Institute of Technology, the private tertiary institution that my dad established in Lagos to train young Nigerians who failed school SATs but whose ambition is to become civil engineers. You failed school SAT does not mean you should be written off. So on part-time basis for 4 years, they were trained as engineers and surveyors. As I'm talking to you today, at least I am bold to say to you that 3 of those students that I know of in the late 70s that I gave admissions to, that failed their school cert, they are professors of civil engineering today teaching in some of the Ivy League universities in the UK. For me, that was a pride. And anytime I meet with these guys, they call me Omobaba. And they're always proud to say that my dad made them. They failed school SAT, but MIT, Mainland Institute of Technology, gave them that lease of life. That lease of life was the fact that Zede Bello created an avenue for them to navigate life through other means. The journey may be long, but you will still get to your destination. Have we still got such opportunities in Nigeria? The likes of my late father in Nigeria? The answer is no. Russia, they will fly planes. Those Nigerians that want to get onto that plane, they don't have to pay anything. They don't have to pay for university fees or tuition fees. The Russian government takes charge of everything. 3 of those students, because I was administrative officer at my dad's institution, I employed at least 3 of those teachers. Because I was in charge of administration. My dad was the director of studies, and my dad assembled the finest of Nigerian civil engineers, quantity surveyors, because that was his industry. They know him and they respect him. That's why when I talk and when people see, oh, Omozede Bini, Omokotonso, don't question me. My father fought Gowon. ZDB fought Gowon when he was head of state. Fought Murtala Mohammed. Fought Obasanjo. My father gave up on Shagari. My father was not easy. And he was quick to his pen. Because in those days, my father will say, don't worry. My pen is mightier than my sword. I will use my pen to kill all of them. My father fought. He went down the grave. I picked up where my father left from. It is only by his grace, by God's grace, I'm still living. My own children are taking up the fight. Something is wrong with you, black race. Something is wrong with you in Nigeria. If I'm asked to choose between China and Russia in this new world order game, I will choose Russia and not China. And you know why? I will continue to say it. Russia, yes, it could be a mafia country. It could be tough, but that is the ruggedness the world wants. Russia will still respect you when it comes to intellectual property rights. China does not respect any nation when it comes to intellectual property rights. China never signed up to the signatory that they will respect copyright laws. China will copy anything from you. You develop something in Nigeria, a Nigerian or a black man will take it to China, they will manufacture a fake one. Russia will never do such a thing. is the problem I have with China. Because China are opportunists. If Nigeria and all those leaders from Gowon till the present day, if they played the card game right with the British establishment, the colonizers, we should have been a first world today. But corruption, embezzlement and everything never allowed the British to help Nigeria. It is happening now. As it was yesterday, so it is now, and hopefully I pray that it will not be so tomorrow. So if I'm asked, China, Russia, yes, they are both in the BRICS nation. BRICS Plus is now the name. For me, Russia is my favorite and not China. The reasons Russia is my favorite is because Russia wants a clean game, and Russia never colonized any nation in Africa. It is so unfortunate. The African leaders, they woke up too late from their slumber. So for me, I've just said mine. China, Russia in the new world order game. Russia is better off because Russia wants a fair deal. Imagine Obasanjo went to Russia to meet Vladimir Putin, begging Vladimir Putin. He wanted Vladimir Putin to help us in Nigeria with Ajaokuta steel. Guess what? The visit was the end. Obasanjo, it was Vladimir Putin that was even phoning Obasanjo, and Obasanjo was not even picking up Vladimir Putin's call. Yeah. You don't know that. You probably did not know that Vladimir Putin wanted to help us in Nigeria with Ajaokuta steel, and Obasanjo never paid any interest. He was the one that actually went to Russia. Nigeria, the position of MC Oluomo and his role as Agbero in Nigerian politics. Is this the end of the road? Bola Tinubu is already president. He's been marked. Whether the court case came out in his favor or not, they will still record him as president. But right now, it is the end of the road for Bola Ahmed Tinubu, and now MC Oluomo is having to battle. Is this the end of the road, and is Asorok going to get rid of MC Oluomo? Because that is the antecedent of the politicians. Is this the end of the game for MC Oluomo? Is now all the wealth that MC Oluomo had acquired as a thug, and all those that were behind them that were saying, oh, it is our turn, it is our turn. Baba is Baba going to jettison each and every one of them and send them packing, because Baba is going nowhere anymore? What is the position of MC Oluomo? He's crying wolf. The last time, he wants to vie for the position of a king in Oshodi, and I think they promised him, oh, Mawari, Omadioba, and now tide is turning against him, because now they discovered that they've used him, they've given him money. They even said, oh, there was nothing called National Union of Road Transport Workers anymore in Lagos, and they said, oh, Lagos abolished the National Union of Road Transport Workers and then established motor park management. Are we going to see a situation whereby motor park management will now be changed over to National Union of Road Transport Worker, and to which they will have to get directives again from Abuja? MC Oluomo is in problem. Who is going to support MC Oluomo? Do you expect people like me to now support MC Oluomo the way Gabon president is now saying we should shout? Who is going to shout for MC Oluomo? Unless we've got other broadcasters, that other bloggers that said MC Oluomo is their boss. Maybe they will be the ones that will now start shouting, oh, what they've done to MC Oluomo is not fair. You are wasting your time. MC Oluomo is only a thug. What is his position? Have they finished with him? Is that the end of the road? I believe so. And everything, if care is not taken, they will take everything from him. Just go and sit down, MC Oluomo. Listen, fight here. Don't argue with them. That was the way I advised Sunday Igboho to. Gbogbo owó tó ti jẹ, gbogbo àwọn Nollywood actors tó ti bẹ́ ìdí wọn lọ́jọ́ kó ara ẹ̀ jẹ́jẹ́ tó ti bá wọn sùn lọ, gbogbo àwọn undergraduate tó ń ṣe gbogbo ẹ̀ fún ẹ tètè lọ́jọ́ kó kó pa gbogbo wọn. Just leave them and start living and enjoy what you had already accrued. Isabella Oyinkansola, thank you. Cool. Is cool the next colonization agenda for Africa democracy? Gabon is gone. There is a likelihood that Cameroon will be the next. Who are those behind all the coups? And when you look at the frequency of what is happening in the coup regions of Africa, they are all French territory. Which country is behind it? Why are they rebelling? What has France done wrong? France must have done something wrong. Because like I said, the British gave all their own colony greater autonomy, but France never did. Are we going to see a new Africa with military junta? What is the position of Nigeria in this new military takeover of government? Is it going to come home to us? Have we got any mouth to discredit any nation in Africa that coup is already ravaging? It's going to happen in Cameroon. Paul Biya. I gathered Paul Biya just changed his cabinet, reshuffled his cabinet. If coup should get over to Cameroon, Nigeria is not safe. Bola Tinubu is not safe. And as a matter of fact, many perhaps don't know, because I said to people, I said, Bola Tinubu is at the mercy of the military generals. Oh yes. 2 hours and 19 minutes. Let's bring tonight's show to an end. Today is Thursday, the end of the month, 31st day of August 2023. I want to thank each and every one of you for coming in to watch this show. Please share it. Now, Franklin, you said Britain, US and NATO are planning a military assault. Let's post your comment. Britain, US and NATO are planning a military assault on / against Russia for the death of the petrodollar. I got that. I didn't want to blow my trumpet. Let's bring this stream to an end. Now, do us a favor. Share it. Like the page, subscribe, and follow us. We're back on YouTube, so that anytime we come live, you will be notified accordingly. Let me wish you a happy day. It's night already. The time is 20:48 exactly in London. Let's bring the show to an end, and join me next time when I come live. But don't forget, like, subscribe, follow us, and you get everything. Excuse me. Until next time, take good care of yourselves. See you next time. Good night.